We're starting. Just, okay, and here we go.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this Adventure Cycling Association member meeting. I'm Andy. I'm Adventure Cycling's executive director. Before we begin, I just want to acknowledge what brings us here. You all care deeply about the Adventure Cycling Association, and you've taken the time to participate in this important process. Thank you for being here. And a big thanks to our moderator, Julie Benson, who you can probably see on the screen. She's unaffiliated with Adventure Cycling, but is here to support the process, outline the rules, identify speakers on deck, and keep us all on time. I'm going to turn over to Julie to dive into how this is going to work.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Good morning, everybody. Real quick, I'll just let you know I am, as Andy already mentioned, I'm an unaffiliated member or a person unaffiliated with your association, and I have been a communication professor and facilitator for more than 25 years. I'll just leave it at that so I don't date myself too much. So the purpose of today's meeting is to provide all of the members of Adventure Cycling an opportunity to speak and share your perspectives on the proposed headquarters building sale, the upcoming vote, or any other organizational business within Adventure Cycling's jurisdiction. But I need to be very clear about what the meeting is and what it's not. The meeting is a space. The meeting is a space for you to be able to voice your opinions, concerns, questions, your support directly to the board of directors and staff. It's important to note what the meeting is not, though, and that is not set up to be a debate where people are arguing against viewpoints or rebuttals. It's a space of respect for each speaker and for each other. And so the way the outline is for today is that right now we're doing the meeting and introduction and rules. That's Andy and me. So we're doing that. Next, we'll have a presentation from the Adventure Cycling leadership. Following that will be a presentation from the group of members who oppose the sale. And after that, there will be a public comment from members. Everybody will have 2 minutes per speaker unless you have pooled your time and are speaking just for one person is speaking for a group of folks. And at the end, we'll have some closing remarks. So during the public comment period, when we open it up for 2 minutes, we have space for up to 36 speakers. Everyone who is registered to speak ahead of time will be called on first, and I've got that list here, as does Hayden. Hayden will be working the technology piece of this, and I will be managing the speaking portion and introducing speakers. If time allows, after all the registered speakers have been heard, then we would open the floor to non-registered speakers, time limit still being the same. So recap, individual speakers receive 2 minutes. For those of you who have pooled your time, I will announce the amount of time allotted to you and call on the person who is registered to speak on behalf of that group. Only one person may speak at a time during the pooled time. So when people talk about doing things in a respectful manner, sometimes you have to break that down into some behaviors. And the idea is that, again, content-wise, you can talk about the building sale, the vote, or any other matters that fall in your purview jurisdiction during the comment periods. But what respectful looks like maybe is easy to think about the things that you wouldn't want to be talked to yourself, which is, first of all, there's a rule that I'll recognize you as the speaker. And so please wait to be called on. And then Hayden will unmute you. She's going to be the tech person on this. Limiting your remarks to 2 minutes is important unless you've pooled time with the other members ahead. You would get muted right at 2 minutes. And also know that I will be giving you a 15-second warning where I will say something. I will just say you have 15 seconds left. Please address your remarks to the group as a whole, not to individual members, to the staff, or board members. That's designed to not single someone out, which is part of that respectful part. Things that would not be respectful would be any kind of disruptive behavior. And you'd hate to have to say this stuff, but just in case, anything that's loud or inappropriate volume or tone that would be intimidating or threatening, of course, profanity, anything gender or racial comments, anything that would impede some orderly proceedings for this 2-minute window to work, even if people have more than 2 minutes. So as the moderator, once it's 2 minutes, then Hayden will do the muting. But if someone perhaps does not follow respectful rules, then I would engage and say something so that we can pause that and move on with more productive conversation. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted to Adventure Cycling's YouTube channel by the end of today for members who could not attend. And as I've been talking, getting ready for this meeting, I know this topic matters to all of you, and some of you support the building sale and some of you don't, but some of you are still deciding. So I'm asking you in good faith to listen with the same respect that you want when it's your turn to speak. So I think that's all I've got, and I'll turn it back to Andy for the organization's presentation.
Thanks, Julie. Thank you again, everybody, for being here. Thank you, caring enough about adventure cycling to participate in this process. I know this is not an easy conversation. Some of you love our building. You see it as part of who we are and part of what makes adventure cycling special. I understand that and feel that. Caring deeply about this building and believing we need to sell it are not opposing values. They come from the same desire to see adventure cycling endure. What I want to talk about today isn't the past. It's what adventure cycling needs in order to thrive for the next 50 years, and why I believe strongly and sincerely that selling the building is the right path forward. Over the past year, we've been listening through member surveys, lapsed member feedback, webinars, emails, tours, events, and direct conversations. Over my first 11 weeks as your executive director, I've been fortunate to connect directly with many of you as well, including with our founders and many past staff. Here's what I've heard. You don't see enough value in your membership anymore. Routes remain at the heart of adventure cycling. Our digital tools are frustrating. You want more connection with other members, and you want advocacy that delivers real, visible impact focused on issues related to your cycling experience. This feedback is honest, it's consistent, and it's invaluable for me especially. We've also heard something harder, and it's important to say out loud here in this meeting. Over the past 5 years, there's been significant leadership turnover. Decisions made over the last couple of years, combined with the leadership transition, have eroded confidence for some members in the organization's governance. That loss of confidence matters, and it's something we have to rebuild, not with words alone, but with clarity, discipline, and follow through. Part of rebuilding that trust is being honest about where we are, making hard decisions when they're required, and delivering on what we say we will do, that follow through. But there's also an urgency we need to name very clearly. In 2025, we retained just 52.5% of our members. Nearly half of those who supported adventure cycling last year chose not to renew. At that rate, membership revenue declines very quickly. And if the trajectory continues into 26, the outlook for the organization is not positive. At the same time, as was shared in multiple webinars and emails since I came on board in October, our cash flow is very tight. Waiting is not a viable option. Delay only reduces our choices. I want to take a moment too here to acknowledge the role of the board. These are volunteers, leaders who care deeply about adventure cycling and its mission. Over the past few months, they have invested extraordinary time and energy to stabilize this organization, have very difficult conversations, and help put us back on a sustainable path. I know there's been frustration, criticism, and in some cases, personal accusations directed at these members. However, what I have seen firsthand as a fellow national board member of an organization, that this group of people who are showing up, they're leaning in and they're doing more than is ever asked of a typical volunteer leader because they believe in the organization and they believe it's worth the effort. That commitment matters, and it's part of what gives me confidence that adventure cycling can work through this moment and come out stronger. The proceeds from the building sale, about $2.55 million, are not just a financial transaction. They represent the resources we need to stabilize the organization and begin rebuilding the value you've told us matters. A for vote makes possible more reliable modern route development, updated digital tools that actually work, member events, community connections, and tours that reflect how people ride today, and advocacy tools that let you participate and see the impact. This isn't about expansion for expansion's sake. It's about increasing impact and restoring value. I also want to address a few other concerns that I've heard directly from members. Some of you have asked, well, leadership has already spent reserves. Why trust the organization with more? Over the past several years, reserves were used to navigate extraordinary disruption, including COVID, revenue collapse, and major shifts in participation. All this done in order to keep adventure cycling operating and serving members. What's different now is how the proceeds from the building sale will be used and governed. These funds will not be treated as open-ended operating cash. They will be placed into investment reserves governed by a board investment policy and leveraged strategically over the next 3 to 5 years to increase our reserves, our revenue, stabilize operations, and rebuild that member value. The goal is to retain at least half of those reserves intact, leaving adventure cycling in stronger position than we are today. Without this runway, the alternatives are stark. Raising hundreds of thousands of dollars each year from a shrinking member base, or cutting entire program pillars like routes, tours, advocacy, or the magazine are something the board chose is not a better option. These are immediate realities we face. We cannot cut our way out of this. Before we can grow, we have to stop losing members. We also need to be honest about something else. We can't cut our way back to relevance. Cutting keeps the lights on. It does not help us lead into the future. If adventure cycling is going to regain relevance and attract a broader base and inspire new travelers, we have to innovate and lead, not just catch up. That means investing in technology, education, routes, and advocacy systems that meet people where they are today. With our current financial forecast, we can barely sustain operations. Without new resources, those improvements simply are not possible. We've already reduced staff from 40 people to 17. We've eliminated over $1 million from our operating budget in 2025. Those 17 people deliver core programs you've told us matter most. Our administrative and leadership compensation is in line with, and in many cases, below comparable national nonprofits and peers in the outdoor recreation and cycling space. There's no excess structure left to cut without eliminating entire programs. I also want to address and talk about remote work. Adventure Cycling is a national membership-based organization, serving cyclists across all 50 states and, honestly, across the globe. Our effectiveness is measured by outcomes, routes delivered, tours run, advocacy advanced, not by where our desks are located. 10 of our 17 staff work remotely. These are not entry-level roles. They are people with years of institutional knowledge in route development, logistics, publishing, advocacy, etc. Requiring everyone to relocate to Missoula would not improve effectiveness. Given Missoula's housing constraints and cost of living, it would likely result in losing much of that expertise. Replacing even half of our institutional knowledge would cost way more than the potential savings it would disrupt. Multiple studies from Harvard and Stanford also found that remote and hybrid teams, when well managed, are productive and even more productive than fully in-office teams, especially in mission-driven, knowledge-based orgs. I've been managing hybrid remote teams for over a decade. I know they work. The building is 10,000 square feet with 7 staff regularly on site. Each year, less than 300 cyclists visit and stop by the Missoula building, a fraction of those that did in the past decades. That in-person connection, though, still matters to us and will continue. The building requires anywhere between $150,000 to $250,000 in deferred maintenance, and we do not have the capital to make it ADA compliant, upgrade HVAC, lighting, the roof, exterior, nor do we have the funds or capacity to renovate it to make it suitable for leasing. I want to be very clear, though. We are staying in Missoula. We'll remain in our historic location through a favorable below market rate lease back option for a minimum of 5 years with options to renew over 5 years. And visiting cyclists will have the same storefront experience they always have had at that iconic location. I know many of you want to see a detailed multi-year plan today. That's fair. I've been in this role for 11 weeks. To build a credible plan that reflects your feedback, real data, and the realities of today's cycling world, I need time and resources. This vote does not replace planning. It makes good planning possible. This is not a decision we can safely defer. This vote gives us the ability to act now, responsibly, transparently, and with accountability, rather than react later when options are far, far fewer. Spending time with members last weekend at our Jubilee in the Desert, hearing the stories, reliving the transformative experience that brought so many of us to adventure cycling was a powerful reminder of why this organization matters. It also reminded me how much has changed over the last few decades, how people travel by bike, plan trips, find inspiration, choose to support organizations they believe in. Adventure cycling has to change with that reality. If we don't, we risk losing our ability to inspire, connect, and empower people to have those same life-changing experiences for the next 50 years. Honoring what adventure cycling uh, does does honoring what made adventure cycling special does not mean going back. It means having the
You have
courage and the
10 seconds
resources to
left.
adapt and lead and build for what comes next. Again, I'm grateful you all are here. I look forward to hearing all the presentations and continuing the conversation.
Thanks, Andy. I started to tell you had 15 seconds and I wasn't wasn't unmuted, so I apologize for you getting a 10-second notice. Thank you. Hayden, I wanted to check in with you at this point. I know there was a technology issue you wanted to explain to all the speakers. And everybody should know too that we've allowed for some transition time. That doesn't change the amount of speaking time, but we don't want it to feel like it's just boom, boom, boom the whole time. So Hayden, would you mention what we talked about right before we got on the call?
Yeah, thank you, Julie. Can you hear me okay? Great. Thanks for being here. I just wanted to give a heads up. For speakers, we'd like to provide the option for you to use video and chat during your speaking time. And in order to do that, as part of Zoom's capabilities, we'll have to transition you from an attendee to a panelist temporarily. And what this is going to look like on your end is like a 2 to 5 second reconnect while it changes you from an attendee to a panelist. And you don't have to do anything, just wait. And then I'll invite you to unmute and also to show your video if you'd like. At the end of your speaking turn, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to change you back from a panelist back to an attendee. It's going to disconnect you for a few seconds, like two, and then you'll be back in the room. And like Julie mentioned, we have allotted for time in between inviting the next speakers. So we should have plenty of time for today's meeting and if time allows for other speakers. So yeah, thank you for your patience. And Julie, that's all I've got to say.
Okay, and then one other thing is that Nikki was texting to make sure that you put the question answers in the question answer section instead of just the chat. And that way, I think you can answer your questions will get answered during the meeting, since it's not really a QA type of meeting. Does that sound what you're trying to, Nikki, is that what you're shooting for?
Yeah, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A box. And I can just better track and save any questions we don't get to. I'll also try in the chat as well, but Q&A would be best. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. And so Hayden, thank you for explaining that tech piece because I'm not sure I could have done it like you did. And since you're doing the muting and unmuting, that's helpful. Okay, so thank you, Andy. And then I have the list of registered speakers in front of me, and I'll probably announce 3 or 4 at one time and then go back to the first one. Having been a teacher all these years, I really try to get people's names right. But since I don't know all of you, I'll just ask for your forgiveness in advance if I crucify your name. I'm not trying to. So up on deck, I have Nick Gevuk, Jerry Lemon, Richard Maurer, and Sid Voss, each with 2 minutes apiece.
Hey,
Does that?
Julie,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
I believe there's 10 minutes allotted right now for the group that opposes the building
Oh,
sale.
I apologize. I thought that was the 10 that came later. I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, so I really apologize. Okay, so we will go to 10 minutes then from the group who opposes the sale. Sorry about that.
Thank you. And can someone please share with me the name of the person speaking on behalf of that group so I can do the little switcheroo with their role?
Because I didn't have that name, so I apologize.
Thanks. We're finding out that name. Thank
Okay,
you, guys.
great.
Okay, Gary McFadden, then Cindy, then Jim Sayer are gonna talk for 10 minutes total in this order. I'll put it in the
Okay,
Okay.
chat, Hayden,
thank you.
because I know you have to find everyone's
Yeah,
name.
if you guys could bear with me a second while I look for you and the participants.
And then I'll just mention while you're looking, Hayden, that for a 10-minute segment, uh, I probably should have done this with you, Andy, but you did just fine. Is since it's 10 minutes combined, I'll probably do a 30-second notification when your time is about up. Some things just have to be decided on the spot, so we'll make it all work.
Gary, I'll be with you in just a second here. I'm finding Jim now, but you should be promoted to panelist. Jim, and then who was the third name, Nikki?
Cindy Steiner.
Cindy. Okay, just a minute. Cindy, I'm looking for your name here. Okay. Each of you should have been joined as panelists, and you should be popping up now. Great, I see all three of you. Gary, I'm going to invite you to unmute, and you should be prompted to accept that if you'd like. And then if you'd like to start your video, you have the ability to do that on your end, okay? Great.
Okay.
Okay, so I see
Great.
two people. Should I see a third person?
Um, Jim is here, but if he'd like to turn his video on, he can. He's got the
okay.
option to do that when he'd like. But if this all looks good, I'm gonna go ahead and start your 10-minute timer, okay? Here we go.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hayden.
Thanks, Hayden. My name's Gary McFadden. I served as executive director of Bike Centennial and Adventure Cycling from 1981 to 2000, and I led the purchase of the building, the headquarters building at 150 East Pine Street. During this segment, you're going to hear from three members of Save ACA HQ, and you've already learned two names, Jim Sayer and Cindy Steiner. Our broader group includes four founders of Bike Centennial, Dan and Liz Burden, and Greg and June Seipel, two former executive directors, myself and Jim Sayer, Sheila Snyder, a former chief operations officer, Jenny Sullivan, a former advocacy director, and Cindy. Some supporters of the sale have said a building is not the organization, it's just where the work happens. And that statement's partly true, but I think it's also incomplete. Bike Centennial existed in two separate locations in Missoula before we purchased the headquarters. When I joined the staff in 1973, we worked above a bar in a gutted old hotel. It wasn't ideal, but it served its purpose. That space was our home for 8 years. In 1981, we moved to a building on Main Street. There, within tight quarters and a very small staff, we grew the membership from 3,000 to 15,000 members, and after a decade, we were bursting at the seams with only a dozen staff. In 1980, with the organization on a more solid financial footing, the board directed me to find a permanent home for the organization, a place we could shape into a real home, a real headquarters. And we found that in a former Christian Science church. I signed the purchase papers in March of 1991, and 7 months later, we moved into the building after a lot of renovations. Almost immediately, the building became more than just an office space. It became a focal point for our organization and for the cycling community. We didn't just have an address in Missoula. We had a place where we actively invited members and other cyclists to visit. They could meet the staff. They could see how we created maps and routes. They could talk with staff members that they'd talked to on the phone. In 1992, the board designated the life member funds to retire the mortgage on the building. We'd only been in the building for just over 2 years. By 1993, the building was fully paid off, specifically as a long-term investment in ACA's stability. Today, with only 7 staff working in the headquarters building that once housed up to 40, I've been told by current staff and board that Missoula can't attract qualified talent and that this makes the building unnecessary. I strongly disagree. Over 20 years, we recruited professional staff from New York, New Jersey, Oklahoma, Ohio, and other states. And many devoted decades of their lives to building this organization. Some worked 40 or more years in that headquarters or with the organization. So I think to suggest that the caliber of talent can't be attracted to Missoula today isn't accurate, and it misunderstands adventure cycling's own history. Adventure cycling has weathered serious financial problems before. In 1977, staffing dropped from 35 people to just 3 people in a matter of weeks. The organization survived and eventually thrived by living within its means and rebuilding carefully. And I think that's what's needed now. Selling a fully paid for, low cost, mission defining asset to cover short-term deficits it's not a strategy. It's an irreversible decision that removes stability, identity, and trust in the organization. A vote no is not a vote against change. It's a vote for a pause and a better plan. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Cindy Steiner will speak next as a life member about why selling a long-term asset to plug short-term deficits without a strategic plan or meaningful alternatives risks cutting off adventure cycling's safety net and the trust of its members. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gary. And thank you, everyone. Andy, I truly appreciate the passion that comes through the screen and the things you're saying about what the organization needs to do in the future are spot on. And this is a question of how we get there. And we're asking for a pause on this. I know you make the point that it has to happen now. Well, so can a loan against the building. A line of credit against the building can be gotten probably faster than the sale of the building. But we're basically saying that this is an unsustainable path of burning up reserves. And this is not the first time that the board has stuck its hands in the cookie jar. And as we've been reporting, 2.5 million in reserves were burned up over the last 4 years without a strategic plan in place. And a strategic plan would give you measurable goals you can track your progress against. And again, we don't see that. It didn't exist then. There's little to show for that 2.5 million that was burned up. So we would like to see other plans proposed. We've put one out there. But there's more than one way to provide the funding. A combination of debt by leveraging the building, not liquidating it, plus fundraising is a better strategy, and in increasing membership. And we find it a little difficult to accept the fact that costs have been cut when we know there are staff out there at 6-figure salaries. And I'm just going to say that and leave that right there. When the existing staff has been cut by 60%, those folks are still at salaries for a staff of 42 people when it's down to 17. Excuse me. So the last main point I want to make is that a lease is not the same kind of guarantee that holding title to a building gets you. I have experience in real estate. Being also a life member, I manage my family's real estate portfolio. Lease options can be gotten rid of as soon as the right buyer comes along with a huge offer and doesn't want them. And ACA could find itself in court just trying to protect what it negotiated here. I spent 18 years on the board of Bike New York, and Bike New York is the same size as ACA was at its peak. And we did that through very strategic, careful planning and protecting reserves, not squandering them. And the last thing I wanted to say was that I'm also the former executive director of the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition. I grew that organization tenfold in the 7 years that I was there. So I have some idea of how to raise money and keep people engaged. So that's what I'd like to say. And at this point, I want to turn it over to Jim Sayer, who was the executive director from around 2005 to 2019 and really grew ACA into what it was at its peak. Thank you again for your time.
How are we on time, Hayden or Julie?
We're at about a minute 37
Yeah, Jim, can you see the timer?
up in the
Um,
left-hand corner.
oh, no.
Okay.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm going to cut to the chase because you've heard some facts and figures. And if you want, on the Save ACA HQ website, there is a plan that we gave. It's not a perfect plan, but it actually gives you some sense of alternatives. And that's what we're really looking for, is how do we sit down and talk about a future that could include the building? Because the building is exactly like bike travel. It is a transformative place. You know, when you do a bike trip, you come off of that bike and you are a changed person. Well, in my 15 years working at Adventure Cycling and guiding hundreds of people through that building, same thing. We would take visitors in and they would turn into members. They would turn into donors. They would turn into life members. They would turn into fans for life. And then when we took visiting cyclists in, they're conquering heroes. Andy mentions only 300 people coming in a year. We had 1,400 because we actually were open to greet visitors. We were open. We actually wanted to see them. And so this building can actually be turned into a revenue generator. And right now, there's a potential that we're going to lose millions of dollars because members are leaving. They're taking away bequests. They're taking away donations because of this. We can actually turn this thing into a revenue generator and be part of the future. So, as Cindy and Gary said, we'd like to put a pause on the sale. We'd
You
like to
have
work
just
with
10
Andy,
seconds left. Sorry,
and work with
that's
Andy
my
and
fault.
his crew to figure out a better future for adventure cycling. We've been trying since March to work with the board and staff, and we'd like to do that in the future. So, thanks for the opportunity to speak, and I look forward to hearing everybody else.
Sorry about that, Jim. I was taking some notes on what you had to say and missed the call. Thank you for.
Thank you, Gary, Jim, and Cindy. I'm gonna transition you guys back to, so just bear with me for a second. Um, Somehow I can do it. Okay,
Hayden, I can help you.
thank you. I got it. I just had to,
Okay.
you got to do it in one spot. So we're getting there. Jim, you're next. Oh, Jim is off the call. Or maybe.
Nope, I did it for you, Hayden. So
Oh,
keep
thank
going.
you. And then did
Mhm.
we also do Cindy? Thank you so much, everyone. Okay.
And thanks for everyone's patience. This is a lot of technology and a lot of things going on at one time. So it'll keep getting smoother as we go along. So, so the speakers that just did those who are opposed to the sale, now we will move into the list of the speakers that I have. Am I correct? I don't want to jump into it. Okay. All right, so I have a list of 20 speakers. I will mention the amount of time that you're allotted, and then we will go through the muting, unmuting process that Hayden talked about. So the first four speakers that I have up each have 2 minutes apiece. I'll say your full name when I get to it. So I have Nick, Jerry, Richard, and Sid on deck here at 2 minutes apiece. And so if we could start with Nick, and I think it's Gevik, not sure, I apologize. We can start with 2 minutes when you're ready, Nick.
All right. Nick, you've just been invited to speak. If you'd like to share your video, I can make you to a panelist. You've got the option coming your way. There you are. Great. And then I'm going to start your timer now.
Great. I'll keep this tight. Thank you for doing this. My name's Nick Givok. I'm a ACA member. I'm also a Warm Showers host here in Butte, just down the road from you. So I just right off the bat have to commend ACA for having this genuine debate here. I am truly undecided on this vote. But I will tell you, and I think there's good people on both sides of this. As a Warm Showers host and a longtime cycle tourist, I'm amazed at the reverence for adventure cycling that I hear from people from literally all over the world who are riding the Great Divide route, which is one of adventure cycling's routes. And I spent 11 years of my career in newspapers, and I have to say that adventure cycling is suffering from many of the factors that have hammered newspapers. In many ways, your success in building these routes, they're tremendously popular, and yet cycling is changing where people are less interested in road touring and more interested in riding, getting away from cars. And so I guess what I would just offer to adventure cycling is you need to try something new. You need to be something beyond what you are because Strava and all of those factors have taken a toll on your membership. But at this time, I'm leaning to not sell the building. I think it's too good of an asset that the only way I think that there would be value in selling this is if you put that money in an endowment where you cannot touch the core of it. So, um,
15 seconds.
yeah. Anyway, I would just say that I think you need to hold off on this for now and continue looking at ways to rebuild your membership. So, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it as a member.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Nick. And thanks for spot on and managing your time. I appreciate that since that's what I'm here to help with. Okay.
Um,
And you
Nick-
let me know when you're ready for me to
Thank
introduce the
you.
next speaker.
Nikki, did you make him back to, okay, are you doing that then? Thank you. Okay, I'm like looking. Okay, we're ready then.
Okay,
Jerry
great.
Lemon, I'm looking for you. I'm gonna invite you to speak, and I'm also gonna promote you to panelist right now, in case you would like to use your video. You should see a transition. Okay, Jerry, you with us?
I'm with you, but I don't see video, unfortunately.
Okay, give me a second here. Let me just
All
double.
right, thanks, Hayden.
You got it? Oh, that's my bad. Here you go. It should be happening in just a moment.
And Jerry, I'll do the same that I just did. I'll give a 15-second notice.
All right, Jerry, you should be able to turn your video on now if you'd like to. Jerry?
Yep. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
I'm gonna start your timer.
Okay.
Okay, great. Apologize, I don't have the video. My name is Jerry Lemon from Western Mass. I'm a long-term member, and I'm here to urge the membership to vote no on the proposed sale of the ACA building. I also voted no in the first round because it was clear to me that there are operating problems that need to be resolved, and we need a pause to do so. In addition, I'm also putting my estate planning and donor-directed funds for adventure cycling on hold, pending a positive resolution to these issues and demonstrating a solid go-forward operating plan. Here are my issues of concern. One, obviously, the membership decline, but it's not all baby boomers aging out. Technology changes are providing alternative mapping, but I believe there's also diluted focus on the essential mission element to foster a cycling community rather than just another organization to donate money to for grassroots cycling. I also think there's a lot of infighting between the old guard and new guard, including what I view as obstruction to the membership outreach for that Save ACA group to provide a balanced perspective. They came out with a great, let's call it a workout plan, 20 pages, which focuses on the future, identifies the current problems, but also creates an opportunity for us as members to really understand what's going on. For me, that was a real wake-up call, and I'm really glad that the Save ACA board was able to come forward with that. Those members are pillars of the community and of the organization. They should be respected in terms of their concerns. I do suggest, as Jim was talking about, creating an advisory committee, including experienced representatives from ACA. You got to get everybody together in one room and talk it out. And if cash flow is a problem, consider a Save the ACA drive to buy some time. $30 per member for 17,000 people, that's $500,000.
Okay. Thank you. And Nick, I obviously didn't get your name right. Sorry about that. Next up on deck, I have Jerry Lemon, and Hayden, you'll be letting him know when he can start.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. Jerry just finished speaking, so Richard Maurer, apologies. You're the next person speaking, and you should have the ability to speak and video. There you are. Welcome. Here comes your timer.
Morning. My name is Richard Moore. I'm a life member and the past recipient of the Pacesetter Award. I also served as the chair of the AASHTO Task Force on U.S. bicycle routes. I want to make clear that my comments do not represent the views of any organization with which I'm affiliated. My primary concern is with the future of the U.S. bicycle route system, the bicycle counterpart to the U.S. highway system, which is celebrating its centennial this year. The US BRS was created in the early 1980s, then went dormant for decades until Adventure Cycling and other groups brought it back. AASHTO owns the system, but has an agreement with ACA to manage the US BRS. If Adventure Cycling doesn't stabilize, then the US bike route system is likely to stall out again. This is a disservice to long-distance cyclists and those who have worked so hard on the system. But ACA's recent actions aren't creating confidence of long-term stability. The reasons given for the drop in membership seem inconsistent. And once the building revenue is gone, the trouble could compound. I'm no stranger to controversy within national cycling organizations. In the early 2000s, I was with a different national organization where a group wanted change. But even though the staff and board did not agree at all with this other group, they bent over backwards to be fair and objective in presenting all sides for informed member voting. Even if there was disagreement, trust was preserved. In contrast, the recent messaging from ACA headquarters has been remarkably one-sided and hasn't represented fairly different views. This sort of pressure is remarkably off-putting and can really damage credibility and trust. Organizations are typically granted a certain amount of trust based on past experience.
15
This
seconds.
trust can increase if the organization earns it. What I've seen is a leadership so insistently pushing an agenda as to erode and eliminate that trust. And that's where we are right now. I'll be voting no.
Thank you, Richard. The one advantage of having someone who's not affiliated is that I don't have anyone's agenda to push. The disadvantage is I can say the wrong names. So hang in there with me. We're going to get this down. Okay, so
Nikki, are you looking? Thank you. Sid Voss, you're next. I'm looking for you. I'm going to promote you to panelist and invite you to speak. And Sid, you've got the ability to put your video on if you'd like to. Here goes
There we
your
go.
2 minutes.
I can see you. Okay.
I am
Thanks.
Sid Voss, a 25-year member of Adventure Cycling, tour participant, volunteer, tour leader, and donor. For 20 years of my membership, I saw the strengths of ACA, the advocacy, the great maps and routes, the magazine. These strengths are now just a skeleton of the past. What does the future bring? All I see is the conversion of capital assets to the operational expenditures that will run out if the organization continues down the same route. We have seen the letter from the president regarding the reasons for ACA's fiscal difficulties. The board fails to shoulder any of the responsibility. The board has two main jobs: hire an executive director and assure the financial stability of the organization supported by membership dues and donations. Before the sale of the building, the board must provide the members the specific actions that the organization will take to pedal out of the steep canyon we find ourselves in due to the actions of the board. I bring up a couple history items about the board to highlight the idea that we should be very concerned about board recommendations. The board expended organizational money to a search firm only to dismiss that executive director a short time later. The board missed the post-COVID boom in biking and the desire for people for adventure that would have been a boom in our membership numbers. Later, the board directed the organization to change technology platforms and software, a costly endeavor in terms of dollars and staff time and their ability to do their jobs, a costly change that has no benefit to the members. The board has stated that donations are down considerably. I, for one, stopped my donations when I saw money being wasted.
15 seconds.
Vote no for the sale until a plan is evident that returns ACA to the focus on bike touring, advocacy, and inspiration in a print magazine, and a plan to demonstrate fiscal responsibility to rebuild membership and its donor base.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Nikki. Victor Malazzi, you're next. I'm promoting you to panelist.
And I have it listed that Victor is pooling time, representing other folks. So this time limit would be 6 minutes.
That's accurate.
Okay.
Vic, I've got your 6-minute timer beginning now when you're ready. There you go.
Okay, good. Thank you. My name is Vic Malazzi. I'm 76 years old, and I did my first ACA tour in 2019. And I've only been riding a bike for about 7 years. I've been on 35 ACA tours from in advanced support to self-contained, and I ride about 3,500 miles a year and do about 200,000 feet of climbing on my gravel bike in the Weyerhaeuser and BLM logging tracks in the Oregon coast. I moved to Alaska in 1973 and started a banking career. In 1991, me and three partners raised $8 million in capital and started Northern Bank in Anchorage, Alaska, with 12 employees. I was in charge of lending for the bank and retired 20 years later. And when I did retire, we had grown from 8 million to $1.3 billion. In my non-banking time, I was on the Anchorage Park and Rec Commission for 10 years, and I was board chair for 5. I was also the founder of the Anchorage Park Foundation 20 years ago. And since the creation of the foundation, we've generated about $140 million in parks and trails. In addition, I've been involved in many nonprofit leadership, many board positions. As an example, I was contacted by the mayor of Anchorage 4 years ago and asked to put together a board of directors with me chair to receive $20 million from Anchorage through ARPA funds. And those funds we used to buy 3 hotels and convert them to low to extremely low income housing. And we're now housing about 250 individuals, and they're not sleeping in shelters, etc. The reason I wanted to go over that information is to show people that I do have some expertise in how this works. So with that, wearing 2 hats, I reviewed the business plan submitted by the Save ACA group. And let's remember, ACA is an operating business. They just don't pay taxes. In my opinion, the plan was probably the most flawed and convoluted business plan I've ever seen in 50 years. It was about 19 pages of fluff. There were no how do you do it? So the Save ACA group wants everyone to save the building. They want everyone to move to Missoula. In their plan, they call the engagement funnel. I'm sorry, engagement funnel. In the plan, 6 of the board members resigned, and everybody moves to Missoula. So let's go down that path. If the board resigns, then you have to replace them with board members, and that would probably be the ACA, Save ACA group, because they're the ones that really are pushing this. And remember, ACA has 17 employees, with 7 of them living in Missoula and another 10 in other areas of the country. If the board implemented the plan, what happens to the 10 employees that don't live in Missoula? Are they given an ultimatum to move to Missoula or they lose their job? I expect most of them would probably have their resumes out looking for jobs in 24 hours, and ACA would end up with resignations from all those 10 individuals. That would cause computers, files, and everything else to be sent down to ACA headquarters, 150 Pine Street. And how long would the remaining 7 employees could stick around? Let's look at the budget. ACA says the group said that they're paying too much for staff and they want to pay lower positions, $50,000 for 4 staff. Every year, HUD publishes income limits for each state under their documentation system. Salaries of $50,000 in Missoula, believe it or not, fall into the low to very low income categories, the same people were housing in Anchorage. The remaining staff will be looking for new employment. At that time, the board of directors goes from a governance board to an operating board because they have the legal obligation to follow through with ACA. If the business essentially would collapse, the board of directors would have to work with the Montana Attorney General's office because it's very specific. There's dedicated funds in this organization, and donor intent must be met. So the funds would have to be transferred to a new organization that was like ACA, but it would have to be approved by the state Attorney General. In other words, business fails. Now, what's the alternative? ACA sells the building. They lease their space for 5 years with three 5-year options. In other words, the leases are in place till 2046. And in 2046, most of us are going to be dead, and you'll have some new people there deciding what to do with the building. This is more about just a building sale. This is about basically the survival of ACA, and there's no way this is going to survive if everything goes back to Missoula. Basically, what you're going to end up with is a collapse of the business. My number is 907-230-4841. And if anyone wants to have a discussion with me, I'd be more than happy to do it. And remember, I've been doing this for 20 years, not only on a nonprofit side, but on a business side. And I have a real good feeling for how it works. And in this case, there's nothing, no, as the saying goes, there's no meat around the bones in the plan. Also, we're going to go from 13 or 14 or 15,000 members to 20,000 members. And we're going to do that with a half a person less than we have right now. And those are $50,000
30 seconds.
salaries. Oh, well, actually, I'm done now. So you can pass my
Okay.
time to someone else.
I think we're done. Thanks, Victor. I just wanted to give you a 30-second notice. I also have a couple of things to say real quick. Just to let everybody know that the Q&A part of the meeting and the chat, all of those will be available after the timed meeting as well. And if I have that right, Nikki, give me a thumbs up. Do I have that right? Okay. Also, before we move on to the next group, because I've been doing it kind of in chunks. So Victor was 6 minutes portion speaking with a couple of other people's time. So our next 4 speakers, I have Gary Keene, Ray Keener, Drew DeMack, and Stevens. I'm going to say Seto or Cito, each with 2 minutes apiece. So we'll start with Gary when Hayden can get you up on the. Oh, we're getting better as we go along. It's working.
Your time starts now, Gary.
Thank you. Most of us know the legendary Ian Hibble, who started in 1971 to cycle from Tierra del Fuego to Alaska, likely an inspiration for 73's Hemistour, the antecedent to Transamerica 76, and thus Bicentennial and ACA. A few years after that, he came to speak at our local bike club, and I took him to dinner where I pestered him with technical questions about touring bikes and gear. Finally, in exasperation, he interrupted and said in his lovely British accent, "Laddie, it's not about the bike." Right he was and is. And the ACA is not about a building. Our purpose is rooted in the transformational experience of cyclotouring. I had a boss that used to say when we got in tough discussions about our business that we must be steady in purpose and flexible in means. The building has been one of our successful means, but now we're confusing means and purpose. What has been one of the right tools for the jobs needs to be changed because the job has changed. In this debate, I hear an underlying assumption that we have been successful. Now we're not, and we can and should be successful again. Some see the building as an asset or a liability to that future success, and some see the current board and staff as an asset or a liability for the future. We should not confuse the one for the other, which is what I think is happening here. Keeping or selling the building does not deal with any questions of leadership. I would also test our definition of success. We succeeded when we mostly had the field to ourselves. There's a saying that when a student exceeds the teacher has truly succeeded, and we have truly succeeded in so many ways, but we no longer have the field to ourselves. What people want is shifting, and how they get it is shifting. This is both a cultural and a technological shift. So for it to be successful in the future, it will be different than how we have been successful. It might well be smaller in scale, specifically not needing a building, but vital and crucial nonetheless. The building has become a placeholder for what was, not what will
15
be.
seconds.
Almost all of the good ideas and strategies that have been put forward do not require this building, and I would note there is no strategic plan that guarantees success. Every bike tourist should know that when we make a plan, God laughs. Finally, I'd note that I see nothing in the bylaws that requires a membership-wide vote on this fact.
Okay. All right, time's up there. And our next speaker will be Ray.
Ray, are you there? There you are.
And I think your microphone is muted, Ray. If you want to do that before you start, we don't want to miss what you have to say. There we go.
Here goes your timer, Ray. 2 minutes.
Okay. You can go ahead, Ray.
Hi, I'm Ray Keener. I'm currently the retail editor of Bicycle Retailer magazine and website. I'm also on the People for Bikes payroll as an independent contractor. See the hat. My views expressed here are strictly my own. I've been both a board president for a bike nonprofit and an executive director answering to the board of a bike nonprofit. So I've been in similar situations of receiving criticism from people out of the loop. I am also an institutionalist. It's not that organizations never make mistakes. It's that you have to trust that the people in charge and running them always make the best good faith decisions they can, present federal government accepted. The only board member I know well is Noel Cagle, and I have extra trust in him. He's always insightful and has inherited his father's gentle approach to leadership. If he's on board with a decision, I stand right with him. I sympathize with past ACA leaders who are understandably upset that a building they're emotionally attached to that was purchased in the salad days of ACA now has to be liquidated to keep the ship afloat. I have no doubt that the alternatives that Cindy Steiner proposed have been thoroughly examined by the current board and found wanting. And not being privy to all the factors driving the decision, I see no choice but to trust the board's
15 seconds.
to ACA's future, and I shall vote yes.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Next up on our list, we have Drew.
Drew, you should be able to manage your video and there you go.
I just did.
All right.
There we go, and we can
start
hear
your
you.
2
So
minutes.
My name is Drew DeMack. I am from the Denver, Colorado area as a life member and a 76er and a volunteer. I treasure adventure cycling like no other group I have ever been involved with, which is many. I want the best for this cycling organization as everyone does. I understand both sides of the building issue. I really do. When the ACA headquarters was listed in June, I expressed my support for the sale because I have been there. I was once on the board of John Denver's WinStar Foundation, his environmental nonprofit. After he died, our membership dwindled and we had to make very difficult financial decisions, just as adventure cycling is. I am well aware that adventure cycling has faced recent financial challenges like many nonprofits. I know the building is a special place. I have been there too. Drawing on my own journalism career, I have presented both sides equally on my Bike Centennial 76 Facebook page. That said, I understand and respect the passion of those who are opposed to selling the building. Many of you are my friends. All of us have helped create adventure cycling's iconic history, and we all want to see it flourish again. Understanding that this is a difficult turning point, I believe this proposed sale will allow ACA to thrive again. After being deeply involved this past weekend in Arizona with the Jubilee in the Desert celebration of adventure cycling's 50-year anniversary, I believe in the commitment adventure cycling's leadership has promised. I have every reason to believe and trust that ACA leaders, including new executive director Andy Williamson, and the board of directors have presented a sound and growth-minded plan. That trust is from one-on-one discussions I had with all of them during the Jubilee and discussions I had before the event. I am expressing my own perspective, that's all. I appreciate this time to speak. Hope my friends will respect what I have stated, even if they disagree, because I respect yours as well. Thank you.
thank you, Drew. That was right on the money. Okay. So next in these 2-minute orders, we have Stephen. And Stephen, Hayden will get you set up there there we go.
Steve, your 2 minutes starts now.
Good morning. My name is Steve Seto. I'm a life member and former ACA board member. I agree the decision to sell our cherished building is about financial discipline, accountable governance, and adventure cycling's long-term health, identity, and relevance. with an evolving cycling community. So as I studied both sides' really thoughtful plans, I asked myself two questions. One, which plan is best addressing our real opportunities and challenges today and in the future? And two, who do I trust to manage and course correct our organization going forward? The answers are the current plan and the current team. The stronger plan is the plan already in progress. Our organization has needed a major tune-up since well before the pandemic. The current team inherited lots of problems, including declining assets. The current team has made courageous, long-needed decisions to focus on fewer, bigger priorities. They are modernizing operations, creating new routes more efficiently, partnering with a great mix of community organizers, and engaging riders of all experience levels, all with fiscal responsibility. Our turnaround is underway. I have worked with key members on both sides, people who are my friends. I trust our current team to lead us today and position us stronger for our next 50 years. So let's please stop trying to discredit the competence of the people with whom we disagree. Let's trust our current team. Assuming ACA members vote again this month, resoundingly in favor of the sale, the will of our membership must go forward. Let's stop the delays. Let's complete the sale. Let's get back to the business of adventure cycling. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. And as we move to the next presentation, I wanted to mention that the speaker I have listed is Jim Cossett, if I'm pronouncing that right, and has pool time with others for a total of 10 minutes. And Jim, I will give you a 30-second notice as well, rather than just a 15-second.
Jim, your 10 minutes starts now. Jim, are you there? Jim, you have the ability to unmute yourself and to manage your video as well. There you go.
Yeah, I'd like you to restart my time because of the technical difficulties that
that's fair. Yep,
Please
we'll
don't
do that.
interrupt. Thank you. My name is Jim Cossett. I am a 50-year member of this organization. I joined in 75 as a 17-year-old kid in Des Moines, Iowa, when I started making installment payments to go on the bike centennial trip in 76, which I rode. After that, in 78, I rode up to Alaska with assistance from this organization. I lead a dual life. The other life I lead is as a lawyer. I'm a specialist in bankruptcy, debtor, creditor, insolvency, and reorganization. Have been for 40 years and practiced up in the Flathead Valley of Northwest Montana for about 25 of those years, and regularly appeared at the federal courthouse in Missoula, about 3 blocks from the ACA office, for 25 years. As a result of my cycling familiarity, I know generally what's going on in the cycling community and the various groups I've been involved in the United States Cycling Federation, this group and other groups for decades. At one point, I was the legislative coordinator for the Iowa League of Bicyclists in advocacy as well. My approach on this thing has been independent from the SAVE group. I did not even know they existed until sometime in November. And although I know some of them as social acquaintances, and I consult with them on some of these issues, it has been to interview them as witnesses for gathering facts from which to derive my analysis and the opinions that I'm going to share with you here today. We have 2 competing viewpoints, and this is basically a lot like a Chapter 11 case. We got to pay, and using the doctor analogy too. So I'm a board certified cancer specialist. I specialize in financial cancer. And the diagnosis of this patient is pretty clear. It doesn't seem to be a lot of disagreement between the board and the ACA group and the SAVE group about what the diagnosis is: lack of money, lack of membership, yada, yada, yada. So we move on to the next stage in the process, which is, what's the treatment plan? What's the treatment plan? What are the options for the treatment plan, given the differential diagnosis that may exist? Which is the best option, and how do we arrive at the conclusion that the option A or option B or option C is the best option? That's what's going on here. I have personal views on this, but as a professional, I am committed to the rule of law, balance, fairness, and letting opposing viewpoints have a vibrant, robust, fair, balanced presentation of their views to the decision makers so that they can make informed choices. This is what I've done for 40 years in the Chapter 11 context. In the Chapter 11 context, we have financially troubled entities. We counsel their board of directors or their management or whoever, and we help them work up a plan, a Chapter 11 plan that gets filed with the court, or and then we also have what's called a disclosure statement. The disclosure statement outlines the underlying basis of what the plan is, why it's the best plan, what other alternatives we reviewed and considered, why we didn't like those alternatives, and what is plan B, what is plan C, and what is plan D in case our original plan blows up in our face, which it often does in the legal world. I see none of this on the landscape that I have reviewed. I see a board that says, we want A. I see a SAVE group that's put out a plan that says, well, A doesn't look so good, and here's B, and we kind of told you why we think B is good. So this is how I'm approaching this thing in terms of how thorough has this plan been worked up, how well is it documented, what sort of credibility and veracity should be given to it, and has it provided me and the rest of the members of this group with adequate information from which to make an informed decision. So let me go through the investigation I conducted and why I think this thing is a bad idea. This thing is the thing that they won't disclose to us. That's another fundamental problem with this thing. I have yet to see a board resolution that was adopted by this board of directors that puts squarely in front of me the text of the resolution or the text of the proposed action. And for the life of me, I can't make an adequate or informed decision to vote on something if I don't have the text of what's under consideration. Would we go vote to legalize marijuana in Montana if we didn't have the specific text of a resolution? Of course we wouldn't. Okay. So I started conducting my own investigation into this board and the decision-making process back in September. I see I'm down to about 4.5 minutes, so I'm going to have to move this along. I made 3 written requests. The major problems here are stonewalling. That's the biggest problem. Stonewalling, lack of transparency, and ramming this thing down our throats. I made 3 written requests to this board and got stonewalled for 95 days, over 3 months, at which time they dribbled out 40 pages of board minutes that their board chair promised me on October 1st that I would have. That's not fair. That's not fair, and it's not reasonable. The second problem, in addition to the stonewalling and outright deflection, is the membership list gamesmanship. They've played games. ACA has played games with this list. They intentionally provided a 200 and some odd page string of PDF stuff that did not comply with the specifics in the law that they were supposed to comply with. And they provided it in a manner that was designed intentionally to degrade participation in this process. Somebody else in this presentation talked about trust and confidence in this organization. There's a couple speakers who said they still had it. I can guarantee you I don't. The third problem, in addition to the stonewalling my document requests, playing games with the membership list so as to degrade anybody's meaningful participation in this process. The third one is the specific text of the resolution has never been disclosed. Item number 4 is there have been ever-shifting explanations by this board of directors about what is under consideration for vote. On June 25th, they said They announced, they didn't ask. They just on June 25th, there was an ED update. We're going to put up the headquarters for sale. October 13th, the board listed it for sale. October 31st.
Jim, I need to pause you for a moment. I've had some requests in the chat that the volume not be so aggressive, and I'm wondering if you can just tone it down a little.
I'll try to turn my volume down. You're not the first person that's ever commented on that.
Okay, well, fair enough then. Thanks for listening.
You're welcome. On October 31st, the justification shifted. Well, we've got an offer to buy it for 2.55 million. Same thing on 12/9. The justification shifted. And then on January 2nd, it shifted again. Casting the vote means you authorize the board to evaluate and pursue sale of the building. There's been ever shifting justifications. The text of the resolution has never been provided. And this board of directors is playing games with this voting process. If this was a fair and reasonable process to withstand meaningful participation and judicial scrutiny, there would be a resolution in front of this membership and the complete text would be known. Last but not least, I see I'm down to about 1:40.
And I'm also getting comments about name calling and being aggressive towards individuals. So if you can just have these last few seconds be as respectful as possible, that would be great.
I haven't named an individual. I've named the board and I've named
I'm
the way
sharing some information with you, and rather than cut you off, I'd like you to follow the rules, please.
I think I am, and I'll continue to do so. Thank you, ma'am. Credibility assessments. When we deal with people who tell us they will provide us documents and they're looking for fairness and transparency, they don't stonewall us for 90 days. They disclose the text of the resolution so that people can make informed decisions. They don't provide constantly shifting explanations of their proposed conduct. So, my approach over the years has been speaking to in a narrowly confined audience called judges and that sort of thing, and in a much more refined and expertise environment. So I'm sorry if my approach or demeanor or tone has rubbed anybody the wrong way, but I'm an advocate.
30 seconds.
And that's what I do for a living. So for all of these reasons, I urge this group to vote no. This is not a vote no permanently. It's a vote so that we can go back to the table. And this is a book that's entitled Strategic Alternatives for Distressed Businesses. We see none of that here. I see I'm about out of time. I thank you very much for participation. And I thank the board, the volunteers for their time in running this organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, so I'm going to check there where we are in the list. Nikki, did you want to make a comment about the 10 minutes or would you like me to?
Just reminding folks, people pooled their time. So if they have more than 2 minutes, that's why, and Julie is stating the number they've pooled with. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to be clear so that it seemed like maybe people were confused as to why one person had 10 minutes. It was pooled by other folks. So thank you, Nikki. Okay, next up, I have two people on the next two people for 2 minutes apiece is Demetrios Anafantis. I'm going to take a risk on that. And Greg Seipel. Those two speakers have 2 minutes apiece. And then we will have Carol York with 4 minutes after that. Again, anything more than 2 has been pooled with other folks. From other folks, I should say.
Dimitri, your time starts now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. Good morning, everybody. I just quick background on myself. I'm a younger guy. I'm in my 50s. Been with ACA for quite a few years as a member. Recently have been leading some tours for the organization, and it's been just a tremendous opportunity for myself, and I've certainly enjoyed working with the current staff and looking forward to the future of the organization. I think we've got a tremendous opportunity. A little bit of background: I work in finance today. I actually work in banking. I was looking at a couple tax returns just this morning, so I can tell you and rest assured that with the financials that I observed in 2024, I can't imagine what they look like today, but would only be able to assume that they've deteriorated since the end of 2024. That even with a great asset like the building, it would be very, very very difficult to finance or even provide an enhanced line of credit than the organization has today, based on declining trends such as declining membership and declining revenues to a business like this. So I think the building is a foregone conclusion. It's necessary that sale happen, so the business can re-innovate and rebuild itself over the next couple of years and over the term that Andy's been given. Just to give you some additional background, I started Sky Vodka. You probably heard of the brand in the early '90s with two friends. We did have a wealthy investor and an inventor that assisted us with that. We started in 3 years. We built a business with zero sales to 150 million in revenue in 3 years. So I do understand business and how it's built. I believe we really need to move past what's happened already in this organization and really provide the support. I mean, there's so much knowledge on the call this morning, right? I mean, everybody's got different experiences, different backgrounds, different careers that I believe we can all take advantage of and use to continue to support this organization.
Time is up. I didn't give you the 15-second notice. I apologize. Let's begin at my next one. Thank you, Demetrius.
Sorry, everyone. The way that my screen looks changed, so I'm trying to find the next speaker here.
And my timer didn't show up. It had a darker shade over it. So anyway, I apologize.
Mine did too.
Oh, okay. Because I have mine going on my phone as well, just in case backup. So, okay.
Greg Seipel, you're the next speaker. I just promoted you to a panelist and invited you to speak. If you'd like your video on, you can do that yourself. And I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with the timer, everyone.
I'll just reset. I can use my phone and from there. So
please confirm, someone with a thumbs up, that you see the timer in the right top hand corner. Greg,
I saw it fine until just now, Hayden.
Okay, Greg, are you there?
Well, I think I am.
You're here, and you can start your video if you'd like.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and start
as
your
well.
2 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so all right. I'm Greg Seipel. I'm one of the 4 founders of the organization, a life member, and was an employee for 4 years. The building has been defined as the heart and soul of the organization and as a piece of real estate. Both definitions are correct. But more needs to be said about the building. We bought it in 1991. We owned the building. No more landlords, rent increases, or restrictions and limitations on changing or improving our surroundings. The building sits in the center of Missoula. On one side of the block, you have Missoula's main north-south drag. On the other side of the block, you have a residential neighborhood with tree-lined streets. On the surrounding blocks, you will find the post office, a bike shop, a hostel, our bank, access to the city bike path network, a hospital, motel, hotels, the art museum, and numerous eateries and coffee shops. The building was originally a church. The front door takes you into what was the sanctuary with a cathedral ceiling. The high ceilings throughout the building allowed us to collect and display a unique array of vintage bicycles. There's a visitor lounge where cyclists can relax with a cold soda. There's a large multi-purpose conference room and a courtyard. We hung dozens of framed photos, artwork, posters, and documents on the walls. There's lots of storage space for our huge archive of negatives, photographs, art, documents, and bicentennial memorabilia. In addition, there was a space to begin building what has become one of the largest bicycle book libraries in the country, with more than 1,000 books. It was a great environment to work in, and it affected the energy and vibe of the visiting cyclists, of staff, and visiting cyclists were just dazzled. The building is, in essence, a special habitat that encourages creativity, efficiency, and collaboration of the staff.
There we go. Oh, now you heard my backup timer as well. Okay. All right. Thank you, Greg. And then I mentioned our next speaker is someone who pooled time, so has 4 minutes. And I have Carol York as the person coming up.
Carol, you've been invited to unmute, and you can turn your video on if you'd like to.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yes, your time starts now. You've got 4 minutes.
Am I on video?
You can turn your video on yourself if you'd like to.
I don't know how to do that.
Start my video.
Please.
There you go.
Please start my time again.
It hasn't begun yet.
Am I there? Yeah.
You're there, and we can start your time now that we see you. So we'll start now.
Great. My name's Carol York. I'm a former board member, past president, life member, and small business owner. I've bike toured in 81 countries, and I ride about 5,000 miles a year on a mix of gravel, touring, road, and mountain bikes. I'm opposed to the building sale. What faith do we have that you won't just blow through the money from the sale? It makes a lot more sense to keep the building, take a loan against it, or get a new mortgage, and then lease out extra space until you need it. It is not difficult to be a landlord and receive rental income that will help repay the loan. I say this with experience because I've been a landlord for 45 years, but there are also management companies. Real estate is one of the best investments there is, especially in such a desirable location. It makes a lot more sense to lease out part of the building. Paying money to someone else for rent is like throwing money away. Paying money to repay a loan on your own asset is rebuilding your asset. Maybe consider leasing out the entire building and moving to a small office until ACA regrows. Members paid for this building. It should be used as an ongoing resource. If you do not have faith that you can repay a loan against the building or make a mortgage payment, why should we have faith that you won't just spend through the proceeds of the sale until ACA collapses completely? When I was a board member, we established the Life Member Fund dedicated to capital improvements. When necessary, the board would authorize staff to borrow against it, but it was always paid back. Why is there so much deferred maintenance on the building when you had this fund? Regarding staff returning to the office, many organizations have already recalled their workers. It was one thing during COVID, but that is history. During my almost 20 years as a board member, staff worked together and operated like a fine-tuned collaboration machine. The office was a beehive of activity. I think work from home has been a detriment to the organization and likely a contributing factor to the current financial situation. There is intangible value in staff working together, brainstorming ideas, and increasing team spirit. Work from home staff are out of sight, out of mind. I fear the strong culture of adventure cycling has been lost. There's more opportunity for staff interaction with members passing through Missoula and with tour leaders on tours than with staff working remotely. Regarding the expense of living in Missoula, desirable places to live are expensive. During one executive director search, one of our top candidates bowed out because he did not want to move. We still had plenty of qualified candidates from whom to choose. I believe there will be plenty of available hires at all levels, either already in Missoula or interested in being there. Focus on the people with time and money, 40 to 80-year-olds. They can be bike touring examples to their kids and grandkids, therefore reaching your next generations. And they're your biggest donors. Maintain the magazine, publish articles and photos with happy people in beautiful places with their bicycles. Sell ads to help pay for it. You've eliminated a decreasing but still viable revenue source. Sadly, it's clear to me that you did not want members to participate in this meeting. If you had, you would have scheduled it in the late afternoon or early evening, like successful tour and travel companies such as Trek or Rick Steves, not on a Tuesday morning. Even if our membership votes to sell the building, I urge the board to reconsider the building sale based on all the new information provided. I have not been a part of it, but I support the Save ACA committee comments. ACA has been down in the depths before and always bounced back. Reach out to Gary, Jim, and Sheila, who have experienced these downturns and recoveries and are willing to help. Selling this asset to cover operating losses seems like the first step toward bankruptcy and the death knell of ACA. Therefore, if you sell the building, I cannot, in good faith, keep donating or including ACA in my estate. I know I am not alone in this
15
action.
seconds.
If you sell the building, you are likely to lose much more than you will gain. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, we'll wrap that up. And then I'm going to mention the folks who are up next. The remainder of my registered speakers that were registered ahead of time is as follows, and everyone has 2 minutes. We have Heather Anderson, David Quist, Tim Peterson, Charles Thibault, Liz Burden, Don Erickson, and Flavia Chen. And so we'll be looking for David right now. And everybody that I just listed has 2 minutes, so I'll be doing a 15-second warning.
Sorry, Julie, I think the next person on our list is actually Heather Anderson. Carol York just
Oh,
spoke.
sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. Heather, you've got your 2 minutes to start now, okay?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you. I am Heather Anderson. I am a long-term life member and tour leader. I am amongst those who was heartbroken when the building was put up for sale, the way it was done. And yet I find that when I ask what's the best way forward, it's not cut and dried either way. I think there's good arguments on both sides. I think trust is a very important question. And I went to the Jubilee this past weekend to meet people in person and to have in-person conversations. And I will say some of the new leadership does inspire confidence. And yet I also had a board member literally turn and walk away when the question of the building sale came up and said, I'm sick of this. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. That does not inspire confidence. I think one of my biggest concerns is the long-term health of the organization. And will the organization lose more than it gains if the sale of the building goes through? Things that have come up here and previously, lost donations and lost bequests. And yet I'm not here to ask you to vote one way or another. I'm here to ask, how do we create a win-win? Those who know me best know I'm a dreamer. I'm a having it all kind of person. I'm not an either or kind of person. I'm an infinite possibilities kind of person. And how do we keep the beloved building and raise the money that's needed to grow the organization? And are there any bequests out there? People will consider making early donations with lots of strings attached if necessary to allow the organization to grow its funding and keep the building. And maybe it seems
15 seconds.
Maybe it seems like it might take a miracle, but I believe in miracles. And as an eternal optimist, I know recently said, the impossible we do right away, miracles take a second. So I'd like to ask everyone, how do we create a win-win for the organization?
Thank you, Heather. Appreciate that. Now we'll be looking for David. For Hayden to give you the invite for turning on your microphone.
David, you should be converting to a panelist right now. There you go. And you have the ability to turn your video on if you'd like. Are you there, David? David, can you hear me? You can unmute. There you go. Can you hear me okay? David, we cannot hear you or see you.
Can you see that he's on the call?
It looked like he unmuted himself.
Okay.
David, are you there? Could you drop in the chat if you're there, please? Or let us know if you're having some technical difficulties. We can circle back to you if you are. Okay. Oh, maybe he called in. David?
Since all of our remaining speakers are 2 minutes apiece, I might suggest that we go ahead and then give David his time if we're able to figure out the technology situation.
Okay.
Nikki, did I see a thumbs up from you? Should we? Okay.
Yeah. All right, David, we're gonna come back to you while you figure out some technology. Tim Peterson, you're next. I'm just looking for you right now, and I will invite you to be a panelist in 1 second. All righty. All right, Tim, I'm promoting you to a panelist now, and you're being invited to speak. Tim, are you there? Tim Peterson? Hi, Tim.
There we go. I see Tim. And Tim, did you unmute yourself?
He is.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right.
All right.
Thanks, Hayden.
Tim, we cannot hear you.
I think that's because he hasn't spoken yet.
Oh, he was.
Okay. Connecting
He's
Yeah,
connecting to audio.
now it's connected with audio. Yeah. There we
Oh,
go.
now you're muted, Tim.
Zoom's wonderful, and then it
There,
always
now we
has
can hear
down.
you.
All right, yeah.
All
Okay.
right, Tim, I'm gonna start your 2 minutes now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. My name's Tim Peterson. I'm a life member. And this is an amazing call. Obviously, everyone on this call has a passion for bike riding and touring. ACA's fed that passion for decades. However, along the way, the landscape changes, business climate changes for cycling. It's all changed. Because of these changes, tough business decisions, not passion driven, need to be made. However, all business options must be thoroughly analyzed, which they have not yet. I feel we must get this one right. I mean, we have to get this one right. So let's keep the passion, but let's take a pause and get this right. As Andy said, we need to rebuild the trust. That's it. Short and sweet.
Oh,
Are you done with
okay.
your time?
That's it.
All right, thank you, Tim.
Okay.
Next,
We
we
heard from
have,
David. Should we check to see if we've heard from David?
Let's come back at the end so we
Yeah,
don't
Okay,
lose
that's
track.
fine. That's fine by me. Okay.
Chuck the Bolt, I've got you next. I'm gonna promote you to panelist. And I'm gonna invite you to speak. And Chuck, you've got the, oh, I'm not sure. There we go. Chuck, you should be promoted to panelist now. And you have the ability to unmute yourself and start your video if you'd like. Are you
Sorry
there?
about that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay.
If you'd like your video on, you're welcome to put it on yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna start your 2 minutes, okay?
Okay, thanks. My name's Chuck Tebow. I'm out of Memphis, Tennessee, and I've been a lifetime member of adventure cycling since I worked on the BP Oil Horizon spill, and I had enough cash to become a lifetime member. And I also did the Trans Am in '96, visited the headquarters, fell in love with the organization, and it's been one of the things that has really had a profound impact on my life. I have a few red flags that I've seen with the sale, and at this point, I remain against the sale. For me, the sale of the building was presented as the only choice, and it didn't seem like other ideas were presented as viable options. And I've been a board member of other nonprofits, and it just kind of struck me as a little odd. It's not what I would typically see, but obviously I don't know the ongoings of the board and why they came to that decision. Second, the drop in membership seemed a little bit rapid, and it seemed like until we had a really good idea of why that drop is occurring, that maybe it's not the time to make such a drastic change. Then third, cross-country cycling, and particularly with ACA, it's the thread that weaves geography and community together. To me, it is inspirational, and it should be selling itself right now during COVID. It is just something beautiful. I think we can all agree. But it seems like some of that inspiration had been lacking, but I am definitely seeing a lot of that inspiration on this call. And I hope we can bottle it and we can get out
15
there and we
seconds.
can fundraise and make this happen. And then finally, the core group who built the association and I know truly understand its value are saying don't sell. I know they know much more than I do, and so I defer to their decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Liz Burden, you're next. I'm promoting you to panelist now. And I'm inviting you to speak. And I'm gonna, when you're here and confirm, I'll start your 2 minutes. Liz, are you there?
Yes. Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yeah, you're welcome to put your video on if you'd like. Your 2 minutes starts now. Thank you.
Well, good morning. I'm Liz Burden, one of the 4 founders of Adventure Cycling Association. My biggest contribution was researching and coordinating the establishment of the Transamerica Trail in 1973 and 4. I'm a life member, married to Dan Burden, and upon hearing of the potential sale of the headquarters building, we joined fellow founders and other former staff members and board members to form a working group to collaborate to save ACA's heart and soul. This small group researched ACA's operations for the last 5 and 6 years, and what we learned was troubling. A huge downturn in membership since 2020 and board staff expenditure of $1.6 million of donor advised funds earmarked for building maintenance. It was telling. Department heads are now vice presidents with 6-figure salaries, which cost at least $500,000 or more per year. It feels like ACA has become more of a business-oriented, profit-driven outfit than a mission-driven nonprofit. We want to see a detailed future fiscal and operational plan before any building sale. We
15
recommend
seconds.
a fresh start with a local focus and building trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Liz.
Next, we've got Donald Erickson. Donald, I'm promoting you to panelist, and I'm inviting you to speak. You've got the ability to put your camera on if you'd like.
Yeah. Am I on now?
Yeah, I'm going to start your 2-minute timer now.
Okay, first of all, I'm an ACA member. I support the sale of the building. And it's a difficult decision. I think the board has considered the options, and I think they've made the correct one. Basically, you need to make the building somebody else's problem as far as maintaining it, insuring it, and repairing it, particularly when the repair is going to cost $150,000 to $250,000. Selling the building will allow the board and staff to focus on member recruitment and its other core missions, and then you can just rent the space you need. Let me just say this. If you think that owning the building will help recruit new members, retain members, or bring back the members that ACA has lost, you're delusional. Most members live outside of Missoula and will likely never visit it. In 2025, the ACA building was only visited by 272 cyclists. I doubt very much they're all ACA members. Given that ACA has 18,000 members, it's clear the building isn't important to the vast majority of members. As such, the ACA building just is not a factor in recruiting or retaining ACA members. I think the board actually has a pretty good plan going forward. What has impressed me most, they've finally admitted to some of the program and editorial direction mistakes that were made in the past few years that drove so many away and are taking steps to correct them, and they are no longer just blaming the losses on aging out. The other thing I want to say is we are not the only organization that's struggling to recruit and retain members, but there are some organizations that are doing a pretty good job as far as trying to recruit members with easy access points, for example, the ride-alongs. Most outdoor communities now live online, and in terms of value tiers in terms of membership. The point I want to make, though, is those organizations that are doing a good job of recruiting
15 seconds.
members don't have a building as an emphasis. It's just not part of their plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Donald. Or Don. I've been using people's full names, not trying to sound like your mother. Okay.
Next, we've got Flavia Chen. Flavia, I'm promoting you to panelist now, and I'm inviting you to speak. And I'm going to start your 2 minutes. Once I see you're there, welcome. Okay, Flavia, here, start your 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Flavia Chen, and I serve as the 2026 ACA Board Chair. I'm based in Belmont, Massachusetts. As we close this member meeting, I expected to be speaking a little bit later. I wanted to extend my sincere gratitude to Andy and staff and to every member who took the time to join us today and who may watch the recording at a later time. Your engagement matters, especially at moments like this. I recently returned from the Jubilee, where I had the chance to meet Bike Centennial riders, tour leaders, members with incredible stories and an abiding love for this organization. I even crossed paths with someone I last met in 2012 while riding solo on the Northern Tier. Moments like this gave me goosebumps and remind me why ACA is so special. Each of us holds this organization close, and I believe we all genuinely want what is best for its future. As you know, we're convening this meeting ahead of a second member vote regarding the potential sale of our headquarters. The second vote is taking place because concerns were identified in the prior process, and addressing those concerns directly and responsibly is essential. I want to be clear, the board is fully committed to conducting this vote fairly, carefully, and in accordance with our governing documents. I understand that reasonable minds may differ, and again, appreciate that so many people care about ACA. In the interest of transparency and candor, we also wanted to acknowledge, without getting into specifics, that a legal action has recently been filed. We are working closely with our legal counsel to address this appropriately while continuing to focus on our responsibilities to this organization and to its members. We recognize that this moment has generated strong feelings and differing perspectives, and we take those concerns seriously. The board remains committed to a lawful, thoughtful process and to continually striving to serve the organization and its members as well as we can. We've heard your passion and your questions, and we'll follow up in written form in the coming days. Regardless of the outcome of this vote, we ultimately believe in the power of travel by bicycle and genuinely appreciate the care of everyone on the call today. Thank you again for your time and for your continued commitment to ACA.
Thank you, Flavia. So,
Julie, David, I think we're going to circle back to David Quist.
Right.
If he'd like to. I'm unsure, David, if you want to. In the comments, I saw that you shared your comments there. But I'm gonna invite you, and if you'd like to, please feel free to join. Otherwise, we'll continue. Let's see. Give me 1 second. David, I'm promoting you to a panelist right now. And I'm inviting you to speak. All right. David,
Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Oh, now we're on board. Okay.
Okay,
David,
yeah.
I'm going to start your 2 minutes now.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I put a lot in the comments. If those all went through, I think that took care of most of it. I think Victor, in his comments, outlined a lot of very, practical considerations. I read through the materials. I think obviously there's a lot of planning and thinking that needs to take place. So this is a yes and moment. And I would encourage, that kind of discussion. I think I think we just have to trust the board that they're not going to blow through all sorts of money. And I recognize that some of the current leadership is new and they inherited what they inherited. But, the past has got to be the past. We got to move forward, think about the best interests of the organization and how we can do that. The building is an asset. I understand that there's a lot of emotional investment in it. But at the end of the day, this is kind of like what I've seen in a lot of old churches. At some point, the building just becomes more of an albatross than an asset. It's clearly underutilized. I think that, remote work is not going away. I think Victor's right in terms of the response. If that's really cut back, and Montana is not in the same situation it was, even 5 or 10 years ago in terms of ability of people to just, move in and afford to live there. You've got to be able to pay staff, and it's unrealistic to think that you're going to get people for, 50 grand. That's just not the case
15
anymore.
seconds.
So I am inclined to vote in favor, but I think that there needs to be a lot of transparent discussion about exactly how we best move forward from there. Thanks.
Thank you, David. So that completes our list of scheduled speakers and their amount of time. To be respectful of everyone's time, but also allow what we mentioned at the beginning, which is that we could probably have 4 more speakers at least for 2 minutes apiece. And then we have a wrap up from Andy at the end. So if you would like to speak, please put it in the chat and we'll just go in the order that people have asked. I see one already.
Okay. Casey, I see that you were the first person to ask to speak, so I'm going to promote you to panelists.
And then we've got a few here.
And I'm going to invite you to speak.
And we'll go as far as we have, and I'll leave Andy. I have 5 minutes left at the end for you. Okay.
Okay. Casey, you've been invited to unmute, and if you'd like to start your video, you can do that. And I'm going to start 2 minutes right now for you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Casey Green. I was a long-time employee of Adventure Cycling. Also the first board president of Bikepacking Roots. Sort of helped start and grow that organization, which I know Andy knows very well. I was really undecided on this, and still am. And I think the thing that I look at is, you know, when going into this voting no is not saying you don't want to sell the building completely. Voting yes means you're selling the building and it's done. You know, voting no means, hey, let's look at this again. You know, James brought up some really good points that I agree with, and I think have rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And I think that this meeting right now is a good start to reverse that action that you see from emails that are coming out from ACA about voting and whatnot, just not being very transparent about that process. That really rubbed me the wrong way. That really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. So I appreciate this meeting and everybody involved. And I think ultimately what it comes down to for me is that there's no plan. There's no plan. You know, there is absolutely no plan. I've not seen one initiative put on the table saying this is where the money's going to go. I've seen this is going to be put into this fund, and that's it. So for me, until I see a plan, I probably will vote no because it's an asset. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey.
Casey.
Hayden, can you see who's next? I don't get all the chat where I am.
Yeah, it got a little buried, but initially I saw Thomas Haratko. I believe that you were next. Okay, Nikki's agreeing with that.
And I'm agreeing with that also.
Okay, Thomas, I'm going to promote you to a panelist and invite you to speak. And Thomas, if you're there, you're invited to unspeak or unmute.
Could you hear me?
We can. And I'm gonna start your 2 minutes in a moment. Would you like your video on?
Yeah, you could turn it on. It's all right. Thank
Okay, you can actually turn it on yourself.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Okay, here's your 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Thomas Haracco. I am a recently retired 55-year-old who lives now in Orlando, Florida, who's an avid cyclist. I think I am probably one of your target riders. And I've been in and out of adventure cycling because, you know, cost and budget and everything else, right? And as I need to do it. I did about 4,500 miles of riding last year, riding up and down the East Coast using Ride with GPS. I had the ACA maps, East Coast Greenway, everything else, right? So I am an actual rider who's doing this in retirement. That's what I do. My issue is I voted yes for the sale of the building the first time. I am going to say I'm going to switch my vote because I didn't have all this information. And I look at it, and like everyone else said, there's no plan. I apologize if I speak loudly. I do have a hearing problem for the military, but there's so many great ideas in the chats and so many passionate people. And I think we really need to look at these ideas. There's partnerships, there's different things, there's support. You have ambassadors that you could have in different things and memberships. Not everything costs money. That's a great idea. And I just think that the leadership, we're not voting on a sale of a building. People are voting on the organization's viability and survivability. That's what we're looking at. There's a major trust issue here between the leadership and the members. And I just think people need more information. There's more time to vote. And I'm not mentioning anybody. I don't know anybody. I can't trust you because I don't know you. And inherently, I have to trust you with these decisions when I pay for something. And I think that becomes the problem. We need the confidence in your actions and communication. We should have more calls like this, more involvement with other people, and just keep working together. Cycling is awesome. It's a passion. But I got to tell you, I didn't see many cyclists when I was riding, 4,000 miles this year, but I'm in a cycling community with triathletes. So we just got to keep pursuing our dreams and get people involved and talk to our friends. Thank you.
Thank you. Just got it. Thank you. We're looking at the next list. After Thomas, I believe we had Renee and then Paul. Can you clarify that for me, Hayden or Nikki?
Yeah, Renee Beckloff,
Renee,
you're the next person we saw that expressed interest. So I just promoted you to panelist and I'm inviting you to speak. And then if you could let us know, Paul Evans, in the chat, we believe you were interested next. If you could just confirm that for us. If not, we'll look for the next person. Renee, I'm going to invite you to unmute.
Can you hear me okay?
And you can do your video on if you'd like. Great. I'm gonna start your 2 minutes, okay?
Thank you. Real quick, thanks to the board for doing this. Thank you, everyone who's involved. And Flavia, I appreciated your comments. I'm going to draw on a recent situation. For those who are interested in my background, you can check on LinkedIn, and all of those IPOs, successful IPOs, I was a remote employee. So work from home for me is a standard of life in in the tech world. So I don't think that should be an issue. I think that Casey, most 80% of my donations this year to bike advocacy went to bikepacking routes. I diverted them from ACA. And the reason being is I haven't, as a user in the 50 group, Thomas, like you, I haven't seen innovation that makes it easy for newcomers below my age. And in my industry, we have been in a transition from reading and researching to immediate gratification. And until we adopt a more digital perspective on the world, it's going to continue to hit and slow. Year over year growth needs to grow with new people and new ages. Having said that, I am in full agreement with everyone here in the fact that I didn't know the board. I didn't know anyone involved in the board, but the lack of transparency has diminished trust in the board. And for that reason, I'm going to vote no, not because I don't think the sale of the building is best. It's because I want to see different views and different plans before we go into selling an asset. I moved from San Francisco to Southern California, sold my house, and I can't afford to move back. We will not be able to afford to undo the sale of this building if later we find it to be a mistake. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Renee. Hey, Joe Barry, we saw your comment. We didn't intentionally skip you. We just didn't know what stack meant. But we are prepared to give you time right now. So just give me a moment and I'm gonna.
And while you're doing that, we have Joe, then I would like to confirm with Paul that he wanted to speak, and then we will have Andy do the wrap up. And it addresses a couple of the comments made in the chat, but also, yeah, that's all I'll say for now.
All
So
right.
we've got Joe.
Joe, you're invited to unmute if you'd like. Well, not if you'd like, you have to, I guess, if you want to talk. Here goes your 2 minutes.
Thank you. I've been an adventure cyclist member since the 80s, used the maps, used many other services of the organization, including a lot of great phone advice. And I think that rebuilding the trust in the organization is key. And I know many people on the board are relatively new. Lots of the staff is relatively new. I know people inherited problems, but the chart shows that there were clear problems during the time that people have been in and earlier. And more transparency and a little self-criticism, which I've heard very little of from people talking about selling the building and staff and board members. That would go a long way. Adventure cycling is not a business. Nonprofit organizations are mission driven. They're not a business. We shouldn't be taking our primary advice from people who see their main focus on the world as being bankers or corporate lawyers. This is a mission-driven organization, and I've seen other organizations like this sell their buildings and then really regret it. Uh, in the labor movement and other mission-driven organizations that are supposed to be democratic, uh, and I think that at the very least, this organization should delay this decision. I voted yes before, and now I think that vote was
15
wrong,
seconds.
and I urge people to vote no.
Okay.
Joe, are you
Thank you.
finished?
And Joe, then Paul, I saw that you confirmed you would like to speak, so we'll have you go as our last speaker.
Great. And I just want to, I saw a comment, people asking if people at headquarters, they also have been invited to speak if they'd like to. We just haven't heard from them. That's why we're moving forward with Paul. So we're going to promote Paul to panelist. Paul, you've been promoted and I'm inviting you to speak. Oh, Paul DeVillers, that must have been an accident on my mistake. Sorry. Okay, Paul Evans, you are being asked to unmute if you can see that. Great. And if you'd like to start your video, you can do that on your own. Paul, are you there?
There.
Oh, well,
Yes, hi.
all right, Paul,
Hello. Hi.
here's your 2 minutes.
Okay, good morning or good afternoon. I'm excited to say that I'm a adventure cycling member for only 1.5 years, as opposed to all the other years I've heard from everyone else. However, I've been a lifelong cyclist, including a backpacking cyclist, cross country. I've done a lot of almost everything in the cycling industry. I've been very involved. I've also been a serial entrepreneur and started and exited a number of businesses. I've been fortunate that way. This sounds very trite, but as I've only been involved in this organization for a year or a year and a half, it was very annoying to me when the first emails came out about these calls, but then there were 3 follow-up emails about mistakes that were made, just small mistakes, about scheduling and dates and all that kind of stuff. And it just, to me, it was like symbolic, And then Gary McFadden wrote that note, but then in the introductory paragraph, whoever worked on the PDF of the membership thing, put in parentheticals, after 20 brutal hours of work, we've turned this PDF into something that can be parsed that will be vital to the organization itself. Anyway, I'm going to vote no because I haven't seen a plan. I haven't seen good activity and organization and responsibility and just professionalism.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to take the moment to thank every speaker who spoke today. We don't have any time left for additional speakers, so I'm going to hand this over to Andy for closing remarks.
Thanks, Julie, for all of your help, for supporting us through this and being a consummate professional in the process. Everybody, thank you for being here. Whether you spoke or listened, whether you support the building sale or oppose it, your presence demonstrates your passion and commitment to this organization and to the mission. I heard a lot today, as we all did, concerns, questions, stories, and strong feelings about the futures of the organization. There's no doubt that there's a lot of strong feelings, and that's a great thing to have such an engaged and passionate membership. I heard some assumptions and some questions that we'll work to address in future communications and ensuring that we're answering a lot of the things we heard. We have a lot of staff watching and listening, so we can do that. More than anything, I heard your dedication. I heard people who care deeply about our tours, our routes, our community, and the experience of exploring the world by bike. That's really what binds us, even when we disagree on the path forward. And In my experience doing this 20 plus years, getting everybody consensus across a large organization will always be challenging, but listening, learning, and all that is super important, and we'll continue to do that. If you didn't get a chance to speak today, please note that your voice still matters to us. You can post your opinions on our forums and Facebook page. You can email us directly at questions@adventurecycling.org. We read everything that comes in, and your input helps us shape how we move forward. Some mechanics, the vote does open at 1 p.m. today, Mountain Time, just an hour from now. All members who qualify to vote and have opted to electronic communication should receive an email with your member ID and your PIN soon after 1. Please be patient. There's a lot of emails that go out, so it might not arrive immediately. So please check your spam and your promotions folder for the email. If you haven't received it by this evening, please let us know at the questions@adventurecycling.org email. If you've opted out of electronic communication, you should have received a mail-in ballot. Those need to be postmarked by the 20th. We did our best with the holiday schedule, mailing delays and everything to ensure that everybody who we don't have emails for, who requested a mail-in ballot, got those with plenty of time to get those in. Results will be announced on January 31st via email to all members and on our website. For those who couldn't attend, or want to revisit the comments for today's meeting, the recording will be available on the YouTube channel for you all to reference and look at. No matter how you vote, I want you to know that Adventure Cycling needs you going forward. We need your membership, we need your participation, we need your feedback, and your expertise. We took a lot from this. I'm grateful for the ideas and thoughts, and look forward to working with all of you. We're not perfect. We've made mistakes. But we're committed to listening, learning, and doing the work to make Adventure Cycling the organization we all know it is and can be for the next 50 years. Thank you for caring enough to be here. Thank you for your time. And thank you for being a part of this community. Happy tailwinds, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, now I gotta figure out how to end the webinar for all.